Welcome, everybody, to Clown Planet News Daily Wrap Up. This is the 18th of July. Let's get right to it. Jeffrey Epstein's friends sent him bawdy letters for his 50th birthday album. One of them was from DJT. This is from the Wall Street Journal. There's a bunch coming out of this. They're saying it's fake. The president says the letter is fake thing. They think there's lawsuits. It's a great drama thing for what we're going to come up at the end of this show. So again, this is one of those watch over here while we're going to hit you in there with a right hook or a left hook if you're left-handed like me. But yeah, this is just more to the drama of everything. Jeffrey Epstein's island visitors exposed by data broker. A wired investigation uncovered coordinates collected by a controversial data broker that revealed sensitive information about visitors to an island once owned by Jeffrey Epstein, the notorious offender. Here's Nancy Pelosi, called the release of the Epstein files a distraction and said the lawmakers should move on. I included this because you'll probably see a lot of this whole stuff of, well, if they didn't have the files, why wouldn't Comey and the Democrats put them up? It's that fake two-party illusion thing because they're all in it. It's one party that's not as, it wants you to get Yankees versus Red Sox, red versus blue, everything. It's the new religion. So you're either team red or team blue, and you're a heretic if you divulge from either side. That's why people hate me because when Brandon's in, I'm just radical Republican. But when you got DJT in here, I'm some radical liberal now. No, they both equally are worthless. Anyways, this is why they're doing that. It's one of those, both teams that are involved in it. Don't fall for the two-party illusion. FBI agents were told to flag any Epstein records that mentioned Trump, Senator Durbin says. FBI agents assigned to review files in a criminal case against Jeffrey were instructed to flag any documents that mentioned DJT, Senator Durbin said. Apparent discrepancies. Trump has called on supporters to drop the pursuit of release of files, saying the controversy of the withholding by Pam Bondi is a hoax. Remember, not a hoax. Doesn't know was there because he it was Trump that put him in jail in 2019 he was Trump's administration. And even Bill O'Reilly, did I play this last? I don't think I did. I played Billo because Billo did not know that little tidbit. Where is it at? Here he is. If it will play. 3, 2, 1 and go. Any day now. That device is having trouble sharing video. Okay. I'll just move on from that one. It's not going to play. But anyway, just pretend that you see it.
During the Biden administrations. Not one time did Hakeem Jeffrey call for any exposition of what the Biden Justice Department knew. He doesn't care about the truth. Wait, he doesn't care about the people.
Hold on. Bill.
This is what
hold on.
he does.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on. You said Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Epstein committed during the Trump administration.
Yeah, so? Am I wrong on that?
He was arrested in 2019, and he committed in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019. So the Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were of Elaine Maxwell.
Okay. But he was arrested and indicted under Merrick Garland.
No, under Trump.
Who had all of the information.
Epstein was arrested, indicted under Trump in 2019. Trump was president. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general.
And people wonder why I call this thing Clown Planet because of stuff like that. Let's see. CMS offers training. CMS offers training for principals on what to do if ICE shows up. This is from my local area, Charlotte News. Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District offered training to principals last week focused on what to do if ICE attempts to come to campus. The school district says the non-mandatory training was provided as an optional resource for their use as needed and offers practical guidance in event that immigration official shows up at their school. Here's Joe Bruno, who's talking right there. His tweet is, some CMS principals received a webinar training on what to do if ICE comes to school. The Office of General Counsel says ICE is allowed in public areas without permission of school officials, including lobbies, waiting areas, and parking lots. That's thinking that's going a little too far here again, but that's now your quote unquote national police force. Again, one day they'll come for you. Swollen ankles, delayed cramps, and flaky skin, the 10 signs of Trump's painful diagnosis revealed. It was just officially brought up that he's got this vein condition. Now, hearing what everything goes on here with his with the symptoms, it was immediately I was thinking if he gets into grounding or some herbal treatment, he will be totally fine. But I don't know if anybody nearby it brings that up or anything. It is benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Again, anybody knows anything about grounding or earthing, that's pretty much on the easy to fix list right there. Republicans keep voting for bills they say they do not like. In some cases, GOP members of Congress have said legislation they supported will need to be fixed down the road. In others, they backed off explicit threats to vote no. Travelers to the U.S. must now pay a new $250 visa integrity fee. What we know, this is new NBC New York. Visitors to the United States, these United States will need to pay a visa integrity fee according to new law. The fee will be at least $250. It is on top of other visa fees and may be reimbursable. However, when the fee starts and how they get a refund remains unclear. This is Sal, the agorist. If you're on Twitter, you should follow him. It's fair. He does some great work on with memes. But it says on today, July 18th, for the first time ever, the U.S. has spent over $1 trillion in a year on war, and it's only in July. Cue up war pigs. Study finds that why Americans keep gaining weight despite burning more calories than ever. And my personal opinion would be because the food is poison, pretty much. If you start getting some real milk, get fluoride out of your water, get real bread, don't do the processed food, all that jazz, you'll be all right, because you can work on it all you want. If you're intaking bad calories, it doesn't matter, or at least it'll be harder. Stadium stalled. Construction on Titan's $2.2 billion stadium halted after news found on site as cops investigated suspected racist incident. Again, brings you back to the whole thing when there was the Bubba Wallace story back in a couple of years ago. Apparently there was a noose hung out and ended up just being something they'll pull the garage down with. 3 Connecticut politicians have been in Congress nearly 80 years. Challengers hope to unseat them. U.S. Representative John Larson is facing a possible re-election challenge next year from former Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin. That would represent Larson's toughest race since winning the seat in 1998. You just think about 80 years of Larson's spokesman said flatly that Larson turns 77 years old next week, is definitely seeking re-election. It was another 15 years ago. Again, if you're in a place that has an incumbent for the last 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades, anything like that, find somebody to run against them. You can vote you can vote harder all you want until you get involved and get some skin in the game and get some good. Here's one thing. There's some state house seats. There's gubernatorial races that are coming up into the next couple of years. 2026, run. If you know anybody or know somebody that run, or you yourself get in the game. Run for governor. We need some good Catholic men involved in the state, local, and state and local issues and areas. Get on the school board. Get in the county. Be a mayor. Be a state representative. Be the governor. You don't know how much power you can have, and power for good if you know what's going on. And if you don't understand, if you want to do it and you have no clue, contact me. I'll at least get you involved in the right people, get you the right information, whatever. Happy to help. We need more people doing it. Tweeting about it does absolutely nothing. Voting harder really does nothing. Because most of the people, when they vote harder, they just look at DC and they forget about the rest of the land. You got to get involved in your state and local politics. Christian patriarchs make rare visit to Gaza after a deadly Israeli strike on the church. Here's a photo from them. Top leaders in Jerusalem headed into Gaza Friday are in rare solidarity visit to territory one day after an Israeli shell slammed into its only Catholic church, killing 3 people. Obviously, you'll have some people that are going, oh, well, there's actually Catholics that are defending Israel on this. No joke. Not bringing up their names. It's sad to see. And they're like, oh, well, it didn't get completely blown up. I'm like, okay, whatever. Here's Archbishop Alexios of Gaza delivers a heartfelt speech to the visiting delegation. I have it right here.
But whatever it is, thank you very much for the coming. And we need your prayers. Very soon to establish the peace in Gaza Strip, because we need that. The people they need, the people, they don't want to immigrate. The people, they want to stay in Gaza because it is their home here. It's their place, their land, and they cannot move. It's impossible. Maybe some people which they're weak, they cannot afford the fear, the dangers, the mud, the death. So these people, they immigrate, they live. The people, they support them to immigrate because of
it goes on for a little bit, so I'll just go ahead and stop. If you want it, everything will be in the show notes. The links will be provided, just like always. There it is right there. Here's the emotional embrace. A delegation enters St. Phosphorus Orthodox Church in Gaza City. There's Cardinal Pizzabella right there. Mount Rainier rocked by 800 earthquakes in 30 days. Nearly 800 earthquakes have rattled Washington's Mount Rainier in the last 30 days, sparking fears of one of America's most dangerous volcanoes is coming to life. More than half of the quakes, approximately 512, struck in July alone, and one intense storm unleashing over 400 tremors in just 12 hours. Again, it's not to scare fear into people, but hey, if you live near Mount Rainier, you want to keep an eyeball on it. All right, here's the beat of what happened today or yesterday into today. This happened late last night. It's official. The House passed all 3 crypto bills. The Clarity Act, 294 to 134. Genius Act, 308 traders to 122. Anti-CBDC Act, 219 to 210. Now, be careful on this Anti-CBDC Act because this Genius Act is a CBDC Act. We just play with words here. Here's the House voted 422 to 6 to not cut $500 million from funding to Israeli missile defense. And I have MTG talking about that real quick.
As the House considers the defense appropriation
figures, I always have issues running
bill today that cost the American people $831 billion. It's important to talk about that this is the funding for our great men and women serving in our military and our nation's defense. The Department of Defense's mission statement is to deter war and ensure our nation's security. And that is worthy of the American people's hard-earned tax dollars. However, the American people are $37 trillion in debt. So this is money that is being spent that they already don't have. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. And it's important to phrase it that way. Israel is a nuclear-armed nation, which is very capable of defending themselves, and they have been proving that so as we've watched on the world stage. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, The April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel, that is nuclear-armed Israel. And during the recent 12-day war, the U.S. used 15 to 20% of our terminal high-altitude area defense missiles stockpiles defending nuclear-armed Israel, which cost us over $800 million. The $500 million provided in this bill will fund Israel's, that is nuclear-armed Israel's, missile defense system, the Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow system. Yet Israel is a nuclear-armed nation. That's a pretty big deterrent for any of their enemies. Any nation that has a nuclear bomb has the greatest threat against their enemies. U.S. aid typically accounts for 15 to 20% of Israel's defense budget, even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment to strike $500 million in foreign aid will ensure an America First Department of Defense.
And remember, it's Israeli first out there right now. There's nothing America first going on right here. Again, all this will be shown in the show notes. Now, let's see. Here's the next one right here. This gets into the Genius Act. The Genius Act is just more proof that Trump and the Uniparty are ushering the WEF's Orwellian AI dictatorship and digital ID. Now do you understand why the deep state didn't cheat this time? And I was ringing that bell before he was even way before he was elected. You go on News from the Pew, you'll see me saying that. You look at the tweets beforehand. Told everybody, calm down. He'll be in. I said that 6 months, a year before he got in, because this was the plan on the whole time. Though he had to get in, there was no vote. There was all what about Kamala? That was just a body for everyone for this all to come through. There was no chance of her getting in. That was just to give you the illusion that you had a choice. He was getting in because if he didn't get in and Kamala was doing this, the same cheerleaders on there right now would be upset about what's going on. But since it's MAGA related, you actually have guys like Nick Sorter and all those guys waving the flag. This is great. This is terrible for what's going on. Is Michael White right here, Arkansas Liberty. I oppose the Genius Act because it quietly lays the groundwork for a central bank digital currency, which could give the federal government unprecedented control of how we spend, save, and access our money. While it's framed as modernization effort, it opens the door to centralized tracking of financial transactions, potentially undermining financial privacy and individual autonomy. We should be all cautious about any legislation that accelerates the infrastructure for a surveillance-based financial system under the guise of innovation. Yes, and again, the worst thing about it is it's stable coins, so they're using different wording. When we mentioned it up, News from the Pew, you watch it. We bring up Tether. Tether is the one they're using to bring this all in. Let's see what else got next here. Here is Representative Caston warning about the Genius Act doesn't just greenlight corruption, it invites a crisis. Did I download? No, I didn't down. He gets interrupted a few times because the UAE poured in $2 billion. Trump walked away with $30 million. And because he's not talking about convicted money launderer, he's not talking about Trump, he's talking about someone else that helped write the bill. Here's Justin Amash. The Genius Act is a backdoor effort to give the U.S. government more power to unconstitutionally surveil and seize money, to strengthen the dangerous bond between money and state, and to give the government programmable control over your wallet. Now, if you've never seen this video right here, let me pull it up. Since he brings up programmable money, here's Alexis Karstens. Where is he at? I played this years ago. Where is he? Maybe I know I saved it up here, but I can't tell where August is. Too small of a screen. It probably won't even play right now anyways. No, forgive me. It was one of those spur of the moment things. I know I have it saved somewhere. There he is.
Analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general to the general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression.
That's the key. The phrase that pays: absolute control. Here's the Free Thought Project. The Senate just passed the Genius Act, CBDCs in sheep's clothing. While the state weaponizes compliance, we must weaponize freedom. On June 18th, while the country was distracted with headlines about Trump and Iran, the U.S. Senate quietly advanced the Genius Act, a bill designed to legitimize stablecoins, but in reality, it paves the way for a permissioned, surveilled, and tightly controlled digital currency regime. As they say, we predicted this. And this was back in June 26. And I talked about this when it came out a month ago now. Back in the piece, The Great CBDC Bait and Switch, we warned that stablecoins would be used as a Trojan horse to usher in the exact same kind of financial surveillance grid promised by central bank digital currency, CBDCs. And now here we are. Framed as a regulatory win for innovation, the Genius Act does far more than set rules. It effectively mandates that all legal stablecoins be fully backed, regularly audited, and integrated into the surveillance machinery of the U.S. state. Only permitted payment stablecoin users may operate, and those issuers must comply with extensive oversight under the Bank Secrecy Act, including KYC, AML, and sanctions enforced. In other words, no privacy, no independence, and no dissent. The Act even instructs the Treasury Department to evaluate new financial surveillance tech, including AI-powered monitoring systems and blockchain analysis tools. These technologies, we're told, will help assess privacy risks, as if privacy itself is the threat. Let's be honest about what this is: a nationalized control grid designed as modernization. The old CBDC fear, it just got a fresh coat of paint and a bipartisan smile. Republicans and Democrats alike are pushing the Genius Act, pretending it's a win for decentralization. But these stablecoins are not free market crypto. They're government-approved, heavy surveilled, and programmable currencies that can be frozen, tracked, and weaponized at any moment. As we wrote before, the state doesn't need to build a CBDC from scratch when it can co-opt a private system that functions identically with just the more palatable image for the freedom-loving crowd. Let's see. I'll put it in the show notes, or you can read it on your own. But yeah, this is not a very good thing. Here is Representative Warren Davidson talking about CBDCs, an existential threat to Western civilization. And where's he at? Right here.
Currency poses an existential threat to Western civilization.
I just said that.
It's essentially, at its heart, communist banking. Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, and Democrats in the Senate didn't walk around Omarova to be confirmed as a bank regulator because they were opposed to communist banking. They want it. And that's what central bank digital currency is. Our colleagues on the other side of this debate act like we need to study communism a little harder to figure out whether it works or not. We've got plenty of evidence. It doesn't work. Central bank digital currency inserts government between you and your money. The government, another word for central bank digital currency is programmable money. Well, who does the programming? The central bank. They can condition your access to your own money with whatever parameters they put in place. They can filter transactions. They can even set them to expire. And monetary policy wonks in the communist banking world think this is a feature, not a flaw. They think that if they could set your access to your money to expire, that it would be a better future. Every dystopian fiction that I have found, Brave New World, 1984, says this is the future of money, that it's corrupted into a tool for surveillance, coercion, and control. And frankly, our own current banking systems crept too close to that. We need to turn the other direction. And the market's telling us that. That's why cryptocurrency was invented, frankly. That's why it's so popular and it's a growing asset class. We need to say no to this, and we need to protect what the market is telling us consumers want. And we tested this under the Biden administration. They decided that they were going to spy on your bank accounts if you had $600 in your bank. And the public said, whoa, what? Why are you spying on my bank account? And in a communist world, they say, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why should you have anything to fear? But that's not our way of life in this country. The Fourth Amendment doesn't say that. It says if you have probable cause, and only then you get a warrant. Here, you build in the surveillance into the program. And look, I get it. If all men were angels, this would never be abused, but we know they're not. We've seen massive abuse in our own country, but in Canada, we saw Trudeau, a fellow traveler on the communist Long March, want to ban people's access to their own bank accounts because they were protesting his COVID policies at trucker rallies. This is very easy to do when you have programmable money. We need to say no to this. It is an existential threat to our way of life, and ideally we would do it at every opportunity. I urge all our colleagues to vote.
The Genius Act, President Trump wrote an executive order on January 23rd, and specifically on exactly what the Genius Act is about, except they did not include what was in his executive order, which is a ban on a central bank digital currency, which is extremely important, and the president feels it's important, and that's why it was in his executive order. And the Senate left that out. And then they sent this over to the House, and Speaker Johnson didn't allow us to do amendments to amend the bill to ban CBDC. And that's a House issue. It's not, I fully support the president. I will vote for the Genius Act when they ban central bank digital currency and the Genius Act. So we need to get it right. It shouldn't be run through and us forced to vote on something when they take away our right for amendments. Yeah.
A pathway to this with a digital central bank digital currency dollar in this Genius Act, and that only MTG and you and a few others have been exposing it, is a nightmare. But 11th hour, we shot down, thanks to you and others exposing it, when they had mainly pro votes for it. A large majority were supporting the AI liability protection for 10 years from the states and individuals, where AI would basically be above the law and could do whatever it wanted. That was just a blank check. We were able to then shoot that down in the big, beautiful bill, 99 to 1 vote. And so I think as we expose this section of the Genius Act, I believe that we can probably get that pulled out as well, because I would imagine, Trump sticks to his.
Inform you about a vote.
It was just funny that he said that Trump sticks to his guns on that, and
Concern.
he says that Trump doesn't have to, then might not know. I don't believe that for one bit. Good, but downside about Jones is he's become a big time cheerleader.
About the Genius Act that the Senate passed, President Trump is demanding we pass it in the House. The Genius Act has a backdoor capability into a central bank digital currency, and they are they're having a second vote on the ban on central bank digital currency. That should be included in the Genius Act. That should be a part of the Genius Act. It should not be separate. And my concern, Steve, is the Genius Act will pass, and this opens the door for a central bank digital currency. So there's things happening extremely fast, and these are things that regular Americans just are largely against. We don't want a central bank digital currency. We don't want a future government or administration that can turn our bank account on and off and take our tax money without our agreement. Just take it straight out of our bank account. And this is we want to support a future with digital.
By private companies regulated by the Fed, and this is what passed last night. Could you imagine if people knew, because they're all being distracted by the Epstein thing or whatever else they want to throw at us? It's diabolic what they're doing. They always do this. They set wheels in motion to get people outraged. It's all fake, obviously. The outrage is fake. The people up in arms over it, obviously. But again, this was a stage that was set. Look here. Don't look at what we're doing over here. Now, what you are not supposed to know, these are issued by private companies, but regulated by the Fed. This Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, this is the mask. Lions. This gives federal agencies complete authority to define what isn't a digital security or commodity. Now, for years, I have warned of a system where everything is going to be tokenized, and that's where we're going. And right now, what passed last night is a major step to making that all happen. But privatized. People, this is crazy. Again, we would have been much better off with a central bank digital currency. I don't want it. I want a constitutional money system. I want us to return back to a gold-backed system. We're not going to get it. We're being sucked away from it. People, what are you going to do about it? I hope you start taking action after you finish listening to what's happening, because this is you. This is about you. It's about your children. It's about what they're doing to us. Again, the merger of corporate and state, this is taking it on a whole new level. So what this really means, they're replacing the fiat dollar with a new digital lease. And to sell it, they picked President Trump, the loudest voice of sovereignty, to repackage control as revolution. Is this what you voted for? Moreover, people, what does this mean when President Trump said, this is our moment? Did he mean you? Is he talking to you? I don't care if you're wearing the red chain or the blue chain. Who's President Trump talking to? The corporations here who are now going to be controlling, well, I wouldn't say, who are going to be basically running the financial system along with the Federal Reserve. This is an unholy alliance like we've never seen before. And again, we would have been way better off with a central bank digital currency. So let's move forward. So I put this out for you last night, stablecoins. This is a con inside of a con inside of a con. This is a digital workaround. It's a deception on a scale that I've never seen in the 60 years of my life.
He's 100% right. Here he is. I'll have this in the show notes. Here's this tweet that somebody, Justin Allen, put out. He goes, what is stablecoin? It is not money. A stablecoin is a digital token that's designed to mimic the value of a real world currency like the US dollar. It's meant to be stable, but it's not real money. It's not cash. It's a digital IOU issued by private corporations or banks and now overseen by the Fed. In this case, after the House passed legislation last night while you were asleep or otherwise distracted, it can be frozen, tracked, controlled, or even erased with a keystroke. It's not freedom. It's programmable compliance, digital slavery. And yeah, it happened. Let's see, we got done with News from the Pew probably about 10:30. And I think it was passed around 9:45-ish yesterday night, so the 17th, Thursday evening. So yeah, most people weren't looking at the news at that time or getting ready to go to bed, or most on the East Coast. Now, if you're West Coast, different. But yeah, that's literally got passed last night. And again, that's why I put in Clown Planet back together, because most people are not going to talk about this stuff. Anyways, God love you. Again, let me hit the cute little like, subscribe thingy right there. Again, like, subscribe, please try to beat the algorithms, get the channel back up, because right now I'm trying everything I can to get the beat the shadow ban and get the view count back up. People have written me saying they're not even getting alerts that this is going out. Again, day 4 or 5, you might not have gotten an alert that this is going out. You might not get an alert that a regular video is going out. Anyway, God bless you. Have a great rest of the day. This isn't to drive anybody upset or anything like that. It's just to get the information that you're not going to get from most channels, most news sources, or anything like that. I try to find the stuff that nobody's talking about and bring it to light. God bless. Keep the hope. Keep the faith. We'll talk to you later.